Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way morning briefing live. It's Tuesday, the 13th of September. I'm Tony Haggerty, Haggerty 10. You know that by now. And I'm joined as always by Sean Martin at Sean Martin TCW. Good morning, Sean.
Morning, Tony. Absolutely disgusting that you're 1 minute past 10, judging by the comments.
Yes, Peg Leg Lonergan, 10:01. We're getting better. We're trying. First things first. We'll direct you to our new sponsor, Football Prizes, Sean. Isn't that right? And you can win a signed Celtic shirt, signed by all the squad. You can enter into that draw. Links in the description for £3.95. But as always, on the Celtic Way, myself and Sean will pick out a comment of the day and we'll enter you into that draw for free. And you can win the signed Celtic shirt, signed by all the squad, a worthwhile prize. And we thank our new sponsor, Football Prizes, for that. And as always, running along the bottom, ticker tape on the screen. It's £1 for 2 months of full access to everything that's on the site and the pod. You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, guys, and you can join us. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Now, Sean, the Wizard of Oz has been causing consternation amongst the Celtic fraternity, especially on social media. For those of you that don't know, Tom Rogic has signed for West Bromwich Albion.
Yep.
And your thoughts on that, Sean?
Well, I mean, good luck to him first and foremost. But when we discussed whether, do you remember last month, because he's still never at a club, we discussed whether Celtic should take him back. He was still a free agent. And I said at the time, for me, no, because he had a year left on his deal and chose to leave. He didn't want to be at Parkhead anymore, so ergo there was no room for him either in that sense. I did say at the time if his feelings had changed and he did want that kind of pressure, then of course he'd shown last season he could still be integral. But I just felt that ship had sailed. So for me, it wasn't so much about the Celtic angle as it is the fact that it's West Brom he's gone to in the English Championship by the sentiments I'm seeing on social media and the like anyway. I understand that we all know how talented he is and that league in that style isn't probably what we assumed would happen, Tony, but I suppose that's the crux of it for me, assumption. He never once, correct me if I'm wrong, but he never once said he wanted to move closer to home or words to that effect. I think that was the kind of inference that people placed upon it. He just said that they felt the time was right to go. So whether or not you feel that at 29 he's in the kind of quote-unquote wrong place for his game and his talent, it's still ultimately his decision, and good luck to him. If it works out, he'll get a good few years down there, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think at all that Tom Rogic said he was heading back home. That was just a narrative that was put out there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At some point, Sean Curran, good luck to Tom. Maybe he and his family just wanted a change. Yes, indeed. And if it's a surprise that he's ended up at West Bromwich Albion to a lot of Celtic supporters, then so be it. But he gave Celtic some wonderful years of service, and you saw how emotional he was on the final appearance for the club. A lot of supporters felt the same way. I don't think any supporter wishes Tom Rogic any ill will. Is it a surprise he's ended up with the Championship in England? Yeah, I guess so. But ultimately, as you said there, it's his decision. And also, I think he's wanting game time because he wants to be part of the World Cup squad, doesn't he?
I mean, if it was just game time, he probably would have stayed with Celtic. But I don't know if, this is just in the back of my mind. Maybe something else fell through. I don't know. But I am surprised he's ended up down there. I'm not sure West Brom are a great fit for him, football-wise. Yeah. But as I say, good luck to him. He's 9 years. All right, he wasn't at Celtic for the whole of the 9 years since he joined and then went away on loan and stuff. But he's one of those players, Tony. He will always be popular.
Of course.
In and around the Celtic kind of family. Andrew Gillia making the point here that you just made. Rogic will still want to be part of the World Cup squad, needs game time. Of course, it kind of sparked a bit of concern when he pulled out of the Australia squad in the summer, didn't he? But by all accounts, he was fine. They said I think it was personal reasons it was cited, but he is by all accounts fine. He's obviously signed for West Brom now, so you'd imagine as long as he's getting a game there, he'll be in that World Cup squad. You would think.
Sean, you cannot think of Tom Rogic without thinking of the Invincible moment.
Yep.
And I think when the mere mention of Tom Rogic's name brings a smile to Celtic supporters' faces when you think of that moment and you think of the goals. He was a serial goal scorer against Rangers as well, wasn't he?
Yes,
Some absolute beauties as
against
well.
Rangers and at Hampden.
Yeah.
He liked both.
He picked some big moments, didn't he, and scored some big goals for Celtic. So, yeah, we wish him well. Wish him good luck in the Championship. Only time will tell if his play is suited to West Brom, Sean, and also time will tell see if he does end up going to Qatar with the Socceroos World Cup squad. But I think everybody wishes him well, and hopefully he can recapture some of that form. Kevin Ferrier, he was just a magician. Indeed, Kevin had his moments. David Gillespie works out for him. If his heart is in it, he'll be some player for them. Yeah, and I think everybody knows he was a player of undoubted talent. So he'll succeed. And Tom goes with our best wishes and will be a hero in our eyes forever. There you go. So
Robert Hyland, Tom Rogic's got walkabout. That's heavy. Nice wee pun there.
Yes, indeed. Very good, Robert. But yeah, I think I don't think any Celtic supporter, as I say, bears any grudges or ill will. It's his decision at the end of the day. Maybe wanted to try England. Sean, a lot of players do, don't they?
Maybe. I mean, 29 in the season he just had with Celtic, you could feasibly make the case that he's in his peak.
Yeah.
So if he's well, he will get a game at West Brom. Let's not kid on. But he's what a player they'll have if he's fit, if he stays fit and adapts down there. Andrew Galea pointed out it's a 1 year deal. It is a 1 year deal, and West Brom have an option for the second year.
Fair enough. Well, as I say, it'll come out in the wash. But good luck, Tom Rogic.
Yep.
Yeah, Helen Feeks saying good luck, big time. Indeed. Now, Sean, I have written about the Shakhtar Donetsk game today on the website, and I've gone in all guns blazing. None of this mustn't lose game for your old da here. I've just said it's a must win, and I've explained why if you want to read on the website. No half measure, Sean, is the kind of subtext.
Aye.
Must win game for Celtic. There, I've said it. Feels good. And yeah, Gary McDowell, that's very kind, Gary. Thank you very much. If you want to take a read of that, ladies and gentlemen, you'll find out the reasons why. But yeah, I don't subscribe to this point stuff and all that. Be a good result. No. Let's win. Take it from there. And yeah, that's just the way I feel, Sean, about it, to be fair.
I was going to say, right, sell it to them, Tony, but I think Gary McDowell's comment sold it to them, I think. So I think I tend to agree, right? I do tend to agree. That said, if they draw 2-2 or something, I will likely, in all likelihood, sit here on Thursday and try and take the positives from that, i.e. a point away from home isn't the end of the world and stuff like that, right? But a result like that, Tony, would mean that Shakhtar would have taken 4 out of 6 points to start the group, and that's against their 2 main rivals to qualify. So in that context, I do essentially think it is a must-win. What I would say is, you mentioned in your piece that in the 4-1 win against Leipzig, Shakhtar only had 5 shots, right? So what I would say is, I don't think Celtic will be rattled by that 4-1 win when they actually look at it.
No, I don't think so.
I think as well as the 4 goals from 5 shots, the underlying stats, they overperformed their XG by 3 goals, and that tells me it was an unusually clinical performance. And they caught a Leipzig side in a bad place, which Celtic aren't. Celtic are in a really good place. So I think you factor that in alongside the kind of Shakhtar turnover in players playing in Warsaw, which, all right, if you've watched that preview special that we did with British-Ukrainian journalist Andrew Todos last night, might not be as big a factor as you maybe would assume, but still factor all that in. Factor in the fact that, as I say, it was an unusually clinical performance against a team that were in a really bad place, and Celtic just are in a good place. And I think an away win in the Champions League is not only within their grasp, but you can feasibly say that it's expected.
Yeah, indeed. I just think it's time now for Celtic to show that under Ange, this brand of football and attacking football philosophy can bear fruit. Gary McDowell lies it were terrible and gave away goals, which Celtic will not do. And I think if Celtic won't have ambitions of qualifying for the last 16, then this is a game they simply must win.
Can I assume that you do not agree with Robert Hyland here, Tony?
No, I
a draw
don't.
will suffice. Beat them at home as long as Celtic put in a good performance.
I don't agree with that, but again, I'm seeing a lot of that from Celtic supporters, which is why I wrote the article that I believe it's a must-win. Cheers, David. But Robert's entitled to his opinion as well, so I take it on board. David Ferguson, I completely agree with you, Tony. We don't want them getting 4 points. Indeed. There you go.
Darren Smith asking, is the fact Shakhtar aren't playing in their home stadium an advantage to Celtic? I'll put in the link to our preview special because we asked Andrew Todos about this, and he said, he basically pointed out that Shakhtar haven't, strictly speaking, played a home game, like an actual home game in Donetsk at the Donbass Arena for about 8 years because of the war there. So most of the team don't know any different than playing elsewhere. Yeah. They usually play in Kiev, but going over to Warsaw, going over across the border to Warsaw, it's fundamentally it's not in Ukraine, so maybe, but there'll be a good amount of Ukrainians there supporting them. It might not make as big an impact as what you would expect, put it that way.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's still not a home game. So
yeah, indeed, I stand by what I said. I stand by the article. For me, it's a must-win. I don't recognise phrases like "mustn't lose," Sean. I just think that's a bit defeatist and negative, to be fair. And I just don't think we've got a manager like that. You know how I feel about the manager.
You said no half measures. Ange Postecoglou's certainly a no half measures kind of guy as well, isn't he? That's what you said. David Ferguson's just saying it just backs up the take your chances mantra. I agree, totally agree. Yeah. And I think a lot of times that is Celtic's problem. Insofar as it can be described as a problem, because domestically certainly it's not. But you still hear him saying that after games domestically, still missed a lot more chances and could have scored more. And it's just, when you go to the Champions League level, even the Europa League level last year, it is the kind of thing that you notice. You noticed that against Real Madrid, the difference that could have made to taking a couple of those chances before Real really took hold of the game. So I totally agree with David. In fact, James Daly's actually written a column that we've put up today, and it's not specifically about the Champions League, but it does mention the differences between domestic and Champions League, because obviously Celtic are trying to play the same game in both.
Yes.
But there's certain instances, as David's basically saying, to take your chances is one of them. But at the back as well, teams in Scotland just don't punish Celtic. Most of them just can't cope with Celtic going forward and don't have it in them to punish them at the other end. Whereas usually one or the other is true of a Champions League level team. They will cope with Celtic going forward, or they will punish them at the other end. Occasionally, you get a Real Madrid that can do both.
Yeah, correct. And we've mentioned before, Sean, about the chances they give up domestically.
Yep.
Where better players with better technique would probably have scored.
Yeah, there's been occasions like that. And
when you get into Europe, you get punished if you give similar chances away, basically.
I mean, the Joe Hart kind of study, if you want to put it that way, that I did just before the start, or just at the start of the season, because of how high he was sitting. I just kind of look back at the way that Ange Postecoglou played in Japan with Yokohama F. Marinos, and basically looked at how often opponents, because they knew it was going to happen, how often opponents tried a long distance lob and where it came from, and it was virtually never the goalkeeper's fault. It was usually a misplaced pass higher up the park, but fundamentally they weren't punished for it because nobody could execute it, and that was including David Villa, by the way. He had a good go at it in Japan, but at the Champions League level, I don't think Joe Hart will be sitting quite that high up because you don't have quite as much possession, even though it's not through a lot of trying. But domestically, I do think it will ring true that most opponents won't be able to punish that, even if they do intercept the ball.
Yeah, indeed. Now, Sean, we will preview the game at greater length tomorrow. Predicted lineups and score predictions.
Yeah,
with Al, and we'll draw your attention to the podcast that we did with Andrew Todos. If you've not watched that, I'm sure Sean will put the link in. It's just a valuable insight into Celtic's opponents tomorrow night, isn't it, Sean?
I mean, we can always look up things ourselves. I look up the underlying data, stuff like that. But you can't. It's the same as someone else asking us about Celtic. You can't really beat people that watch them all the time, that know them intimately, if you want to put it that way. So we figured we'd get an expert on and ask them, similar to what we did with Guy and Balaguer.
Yes, indeed, which is also on the YouTube videos if you want to have a look at that as well, previewing Ramadan. The piece last night in Shakhtar was great, really good insights. Thanks for that, Sean. Yeah, we try and provide kind of different slants, and why settle for a draw?
I'll put this up, Tony. Frank Brennan, you're perfectly entitled to your feelings, Tony, but tomorrow night is only ever all about must not lose rather than must win, and the difference is highly significant psychologically. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but is that not exactly the point you're making? That it is different psychologically, and you should be going for the win rather than the.
I'm just about to say flip that. It's a must win, mustn't lose. That's the whole. That's what my point exactly about the psychology of it all. Why are people saying it's a mustn't lose? It's a must win. You can get the win, and then you take it from there. Excuse me. If you read the article, you'll find out.
Yep. I take David's point again here. A draw puts pressure on Celtic's home game. That's the way I'm kind of looking at it in terms of saying, if they do draw, well, in a vacuum, drawn away from home, especially Celtic, where they've not been great away from home in Europe, is actually decent. But see, when you think on it, and the fact that Shakhtar won that first game against the other team that you think should be competing for that second spot, if you're going to be realistic, then 4 points out of 6 for Shakhtar against the two teams that they're directly in a contest with. I agree with David. I think that puts even more pressure on the home games, and you're getting into another away game directly after it against Leipzig.
And there's a school of thought that Celtic are just going to win their 2 home games. And that's a kind of given. It's not a given. You're competing at the highest level of European club football, so you have to work hard to earn these wins. So I just think that's why tomorrow's a must win. It doesn't change for me.
Yep. Charlie McGarvey saying we need to move beyond the mentality of being happy with a good performance. Let's start winning matches. I'd always say you look for both. Remember last season, Tony, I kept saying there'll be 2 columns, win and performance. Ideally, you want to have a tick in both of those. Now, obviously, when push comes to shove, if you can only tick one, you tick the win column. But I think you always look for both.
Yeah, you certainly look for both, but I agree with Charlie in the second part of that. Let's just win. And I think there's a line in that article that said, win, ask questions later. Summed it all up for me, to be honest. Andrew Reid, Shakhtar took their chances against RB Leipzig. We must take ours against them. Yeah, again, that's David Ferguson's brought that up, isn't he? And Ange brings it up as well, and we've spoken about that at great length, about being negligent in front of goal. So we'll... Yeah, Ange looked very disappointed about him. He did the retro Celtic. That was a big takeaway for me as well, that he wasn't just happy with the pats in the back that they got for playing for 55 minutes. He was genuinely kind of perturbed by the fact that they didn't take their chances. Dave Rally getting fed up with us not taking our chances, Sean. We need to be more deadly in front of goal. Yeah, a lot of guys the same opinion, Sean.
Yep. JT saying, I wouldn't say it's a must-win game, as you would need to back that up by explaining the consequences if Celtic don't win. Shakhtar are a very good side. I think that's my point. I think the consequences if you don't win are, even if you draw, you've handed the initiative to Shakhtar with 4 from 6. So I do think, as I say, in a vacuum, an away draw in the second match is actually not bad. But when you think of the wider context of what that hands to Shakhtar, then yeah, I think it's a must-win.
Yeah, correct. Now, as I say, we'll preview that extensively tomorrow, Sean. We'll go at it again with lineups, predictions, et al. Now, Sean, Scotland squad's been announced. Yes, for the upcoming triple header in the UEFA Nations League. 3 Celtic players in it: Ralston, Turnbull, and McGregor. Agree with their selections?
Sorry, what did you say there? Ralston, Taylor, McGregor, and Turnbull.
Sorry, 4. Yeah, Ralston, Taylor. I missed Taylor.
Yeah, well, Taylor's the main man in this one because Andy Robertson's out. Andy Robertson's out, Tony. So there's every chance that Greg Taylor plays a significant part across the 3 games.
That would please you greatly.
It should please everybody. I mean, as long as he doesn't get injured, I suppose. But it's. I mean, Callum McGregor, he'll be instrumental. He will probably start all 3 because it's all Nations League games. David Turnbull, usually he's pretty much there to watch the rest of them half the time. These days, he doesn't really get much game time for Scotland. Nonetheless, it's obviously a praise for him that he's still getting called up. Anthony Ralston, really quite happy that he get called up because he's not been playing. And I thought, given the way that the selection has gone with him in the past, that might have prompted his kind of exclusion. But he's still in it. Whether he gets any game time, I don't know. Nathan Patterson's been playing down south. Now he's actually playing. Maybe you can justify having him in over Ralston. As I say, I don't expect Turnbull necessarily to get more game time. Retro Celtic asking, is Tierney still out? He's in the squad, and he has returned for Arsenal. He's just not been getting a start. But I still, just on the basis of who's been picked, I still think Tierney would be obviously world class at left wing back if he's selected there. But I do feel that they play that formation so that they can get Tierney in the team, and he plays left centre back better than any of the other actual centre backs that play it in that role, in that system. That I wouldn't be surprised if he still stays at left centre back and it's Greg Taylor that's got the deputising for Andy Robertson.
You correctly pointed out, and remiss of me to miss out Greg Taylor. Sorry about that. Troops. Of course he should be there. But he might play, as you say, a significant and prominent part in these games, Greg Taylor, which is good for Taylor himself. I'd like to see
no less than he deserves, isn't it? Because he's,
of course.
I mean, what more could you ask for him to be given a chance? I mean, Steve Clark knows him well anyway and has given him minutes when he's been able to. But an injury to the captain, it just, to me, it makes sense that Taylor would just go straight in.
Yeah. And also Anthony Ralston, who scored a Larsson-esque header the last time he played for his country, Sean. I'd like to see him play some part as well.
I mean, the same as every other international break, the caveat is you just hope none of them get injured, basically. You hope that they come back still full of confidence and fit. That's the main thing when you think on it from a Celtic point of view. But from their individual point of view, it's always a boon, it's always a bonus, and it's always good praise that they're getting called up. And on top of that, Tony, when you look at the wider squad, 11 of the 25 are either current or former Celts, which might mean nothing, but I like it. I think it's a nice point. And I always think that when you look at that from a continuity and a familiarity perspective, it always bodes well for international teams. Used to be with the Italian team, the more Juve players you get in it, the better. With the Scottish team, I've always thought the more Celtic players you get in it, the better, or the more ex-Celtic players, because a lot of them have played together. I felt that with the Brendan Rodgers Invincible squad, that there was the crux of a Scottish-based spine of the team.
I think Gordon
Scotland should have exploited it a wee bit more, but
Gordon Strachan did near the end of his reign, didn't he? There was a lot of the Invincible squad and Celtic players.
Just in case you're wondering who the 11 are, by the way, Tony, it's the 4 that are still at Celtic, and then Craig Gordon, Jack Hendry, Aaron Hickey, Kieran Tierney, Stuart Armstrong, and Ryan Christie. All conceivably could play, by the way. Maybe not together, but they could all get game time.
Yeah, of course. Now, Sean, here's one that you flagged up to me before we came on here, and we're talking about various things, doing things different in Scottish football at times. Might bring back evening kickoffs, Sean. There's been kind of mooted in the air about that. Where would you stand in that from a Celtic perspective, or is it something you'd like to see?
Well,
evening kickoffs.
First of all, it's like weekend evening kickoffs they're talking about in it. So Hibs v St Johnstone, they're going to try 7:30 on a Friday. I think that's October the 21st. But primarily, what I kind of wanted to bring up was Aberdeen and Dundee United. They're going to trial Saturday evening 6 p.m. kickoffs. So they're going to trade it one at Tannadice first on October 8th, and then one at Pittodrie the month after, November the 12th, and they're both going to be Saturday 6 p.m. kickoffs. So the aim behind it is, Tony, that they basically fundamentally they want to attract greater attendances if possible. And what do you make of it? Celtic don't see 3 p.m. Saturday kickoffs first and foremost as much as other clubs do.
No, they don't.
With more Saturday games in the offing because of the Champions League, would you like to see Celtic maybe try one of the 6 p.m. Saturday kickoffs at some stage? Or?
You know me, I'm pretty old school. I'm a real traditionalist. I love the 3 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday if Celtic can get it. I remember in the early days of Setanta, they used to do the 5:35 kickoffs, wasn't it? 25 to 6 on either a Saturday or Sunday. And I think they were popular enough for the fans. But it's old 6 p.m. Someone said that David Ferguson, imagine the state of some fans by 6 p.m. Recipe for disaster.
I mean, I don't think I buy that necessarily, to be honest. I think that's almost bordering on a moral panic about football fans. I really don't see the concern with that. I think if anything's been proven by changing derby kickoffs, whatever time you make it, if it's earlier, people will start earlier. If it's later, there's no rush. I know myself, Tony, if I'm off and I was just going to watch a football, whether going to the game or whether in the pub, if it's a 6 p.m. kickoff, you're probably framing it around being out for the 3 p.m. scores. You're not necessarily going to be starting at noon, most people anyway. I can see why David would say it. I just think that's almost bordering on a moral panic about football fans, and it's unfair to tar them that. But each to their own.
Lots of comments coming in about the Rangers game in February, Sean. That was a midweek with a 7:45 kickoff, and the atmosphere was unbelievable. And
that's midweek rather than weekend, though.
Yeah.
The difference with this is it's Saturday evening.
Yeah, it'd be Saturday evening. Yeah, but I take the point. I just prefer 3 o'clock on Saturday if they can do it, because it's just what I like. Play a bit of football.
Stuck in your ways, Tony. I think you call that stuck in your ways.
I don't know if it's stuck in my ways. I think he's a traditionalist. I like to think, Sean. But
David Holmes, play better football. They will get bigger attendances. He thinks it's a rubbish idea. I suppose there is a point in that. David Bradley saying yes, try it.
I'm not against it.
No late kickoffs early or 3 p.m. Andrew Galea, early kickoff suits us in Australia.
Wasn't it Tranmere Rovers that used to play every Friday night?
Was it?
I believe back in the day, in the 90s. I'm sure they played every Friday night, Tranmere Rovers, to try and get kind of, because obviously they're based in the Wirral down in Liverpool, and they try to get kind of some neutral fans to go along and watch them. I think it worked for a wee while, So
Robert Hyland saying Friday night does not suit the Irish fans. That's a good point. Mostly I want to talk about Saturday evening rather than Friday night, because I've said to Tony before we came on, Friday night kickoffs sound good in theory, and fundamentally fans will still take the half days or the full days to go. But I just think on it, what if it's, for instance, Ross County away, Dingwall on a Friday night? Realistically, from a fan's perspective, you're taking a full day off to be able to go that, because most people still do work on a Friday. Saturday, I know shifts are changing, jobs changing stuff, but most people, it's easier to get to a game on a Saturday than it is on a Friday. It's interesting, I don't know if Charlie McGarvey's on the day, but I think he usually brings up travelling from Donegal, his view on a later Saturday kickoff, if it would be any better, any worse, that kind of thing. Or anybody else that travels over from Ireland, really.
I'm not averse to the idea, Sean. If they want to try it. But I just like things, traditionalist 3 o'clock. Celtic don't see a lot of 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday. I think that would be a novelty for Celtic, to be honest.
It kind of is, but I mean, I just mean in theory, if Celtic start getting more threes, would you not mind a 6 p.m. kickoff? The other thing,
it wouldn't perturb me, no.
The other thing I was going to bring up about that, Tony, is, I mean, well, as I say, it's mostly Aberdeen, Dundee United now, because Celtic aren't really involved in it just now. But Rob Wicks, the commercial director up at the Dons, had said that he hopes it will encourage more people, but particularly families who can't make a 3 p.m. kickoff, to go along at a later time. But I would point out that, and this is maybe more relevant to Celtic because of just sheer supporters numbers in Scotland, but I think it does apply to every club in some form. But see, Tony, if you think on the scale of junior football on a Saturday, that usually kicks off at 2 p.m, right? So to me, I mean, if you think on other like youth football as well, girls football tends to kick off at noon, so it's maybe not as relevant. Boys football's usually 10 o'clock down here, as far as I know. But juniors are still usually 2. So that's a whole big segment of football people who could potentially go to a senior game if it was slightly later on the odd occasion, because they wouldn't be excluded by their own participation, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I get that. I'm all for trying ideas, Sean. I don't mind it. I'm not dead set against it. I just feel that I think Celtic, more than most in Scottish football, are borne the brunt of ridiculous kick-off times in certain places. And I think in a season where they've qualified for the Champions League, I think a lot of Celtic supporters might have wanted to see Saturday 3 o'clock kickoffs, because they'd earned it by getting into the Champions League and stuff like that. So, but if they're going to trial it and Celtic are involved in the trial, then let's do it and see. And and canvass the feeling of the supporters after and see if they enjoyed it or not.
Charlie McGarvey coming in with in response to my question, he says it wouldn't suit many young people, but at least Saturday would give those travelling over from the likes of Donegal, like Charlie, I'm sure it's Donegal he comes over from, a rest day on the Sunday. It would mean a midnight sailing home rather than an 8 p.m. sailing. So, I mean, I suppose it depends what suits people at that point. I suppose it would still suit better than a Sunday, though, is kind of the point there.
Yes, I think if you're going to play on a Saturday, it would suit most people better than a Sunday, certainly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fair enough. The Retro Celtic agreeing with myself about the 3 o'clock kickoffs, I think,
yep.
Tony, sorry, absolutely, Tony, Sean. So there you go. Well, it's just, as I say, I'm not dead set against it. If they want to trial it, then you trial it and see how it works.
I mean, that's all it is, Tony, just now, is a trial, and it's not even involving Celtic now.
Yes.
But I just found it interesting, so I wanted to gauge some thoughts about it. It's an interesting one.
Yes, indeed. Excellent. Well, we'll be back tomorrow, Sean, to preview the big Shakhtar game, must-win game in Warsaw in greater detail. We'll do our predicted lineup, scorelines and all that. And guys, thanks for getting involved. Sean, you got a comment of the day today? Did you?
I think I did. I'll pick the last one. I quite liked, I don't know, did I actually read it out? Finish or you're finished. I quite like that, but I could also offer you any. There's a good few, Tony, to be honest. I forgot to start a lot of them. But what about you? You get any?
I was going to give it to Frank for his brazen cheek and just.
I don't mind that.
And having a pop with yours truly, but I do.
I'll try and get back. I'll try and find Frank's and put it up again, because
we
the emphasis on the words and the air quotes of your feelings, Tony. If your feelings matter, not a jot.
We encourage healthy debate, and even if you're having a pop, we don't mind, because we don't take ourselves that seriously. So, Frank's about psychology. Just to show
we'll give it to Frank.
We'll give it to Frank. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe that'll put a smile on his face, Shawnee. We'd like to think so. Frank, one comment of the day for saying that it's a mustn't lose as opposed to my mustn't win. But there you go.
There we go, Tony. There it is. There. You're perfectly entitled to your feelings, Tony. But tomorrow night is only ever all about must not lose rather than must win, and the difference is highly significant psychologically. So, Frank, for your, as Tony calls it, your brazen cheek, you will get a free entry into to win this Celtic signed squad signed shirt.
Well done,
so you
Frank.
just give us a wee DM on either the Facebook with your email address or one of the Twitter accounts if you've got Twitter, or even send us an email.
There you go. It just shows that we don't take ourselves seriously, Shawnee, and people can disagree and we can still win comment of the day. Thank you. There you go. Frank's come back in. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm both smiling and blushing. Oh, there you go. Well done, Frank. And as you say, guys, $3.95, you can be entered into that draw to win a signed Celtic shirt, and who wouldn't want that in the current squad of today? And the manager, Ange Postecoglou, a worthwhile gift, and we thank Football Prizes, our new sponsor, for making that available. Frank wins the comment of the day. He's entered into the draw for free. And guys, you know what I'm going to say now? £1 for 2 months, full access. Can't I say fairer than that? It's a brilliant deal. You hit that subscribe button. You can join us, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. All roads lead to Warsaw tomorrow night, Sean. A must win in my eyes, maybe not in others. But Celtic, Shakhtar Donetsk v Celtic, match day 2 of the Champions League. The excitement's kicking in already, Sean. We'll reconvene tomorrow. Thanks for your contribution today, Sean. Always first class. Really appreciate it. And thanks for the comments, guys. Keep them coming. We'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers, Tony. Cheers, guys.